5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Champions! Wrexham are promoted. They have their storybook ending.
You can walk through the fire. You can walk through the fire. When it's down to the wire. You can walk through the fire.
Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Wrexham Texan. Man, it's been 2 weeks since we finished the season, and yeah, I'm missing the games. Saturday mornings are very different now. We've got like June, July. We've got like 2.5 months till we get to watch them play again. Thankfully, in League One, it's going to be a fantastic year, but man, it's going to be a long summer with no football. I'm going to have to, I think I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, but I just got too busy to go do it. But I think I'm going to start on Saturday mornings watching old Wrexham games from before I was a fan. I think that'll be a fun journey through history to take. So I think that's what I'm going to start doing. Help me learn a little bit about past teams as well. So that'll be cool. Today's episode is going to be a review on Welcome to the EFL, which is season 3, episode 1 of Welcome to Wrexham. All right, let me adjust this real quick. I realized I wasn't speaking directly into it. I started watching season 3 this past week. My wife and I watched the first 2 episodes, probably watched the third one today. And so for the foreseeable future, until all the episodes are out, these are basically just going to be episode reviews for a while. I'm going to have Steve Irwin back on, and we're going to talk more about what we think is going to happen next season and over the off season. We're going to start trying to have more guests on that have to do with the documentary series. Look forward to that over the next few months. It's going to be a bunch of episode reviews and deep dives into the season of Welcome to Wrexham. So for me, season 2 was a disappointment. There are a few episodes that I thought were fantastic, but overall, it's not going to be one that I rewatch a lot. I'll rewatch a few. I thought anybody who's watched this or listened to this podcast knows that I really just wanted them to focus on first team play for that entire season, because it was a record-breaking year. We barely got to see any of it, and it kind of drove me nuts to not focus on first team for the season that got us out of the National League after 15 years. So that kind of was a disappointment last season, but this season started off great. The first 2 episodes have been fantastic. We're just reviewing the first one, episode 1. And I forgot to mention, by the way, if you want to watch this over on PeacefulSea Network, you can. We're also streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Rumble, and Odyssey. Odyssey's the newer one. There's not all the episodes on there, but now I'm starting to stream on there as well. You can also go over to PeacefulSea.network to watch this, watch my other shows, watch documentaries that I've directed. You can check out some merch. We don't have Wrexham Texan merch yet, but we will soon, and I will announce it once it's on here. And pretty soon there's going to be a what I call the Dollar Media Club. What we're going to call the Dollar Media Club, which is basically $1 a month. You get access to bonus episodes, behind the scenes. You get to watch any of the documentaries that I make for free. Not for free, I guess it's included in the $1 a month. And a whole bunch of other benefits that come with the Dollar Media Club. So that's what's going to be happening over there. And PeacefulSea.network. So I'll let y'all know when merch becomes available. All right, let's get into season 1, episode 1. It begins with us winning the title the year before, brought back all those emotions. And one thing that stuck out to me that Parkey said was, I really don't think we're going to be looking back at the National League again. What a great statement. Like, he thinks that National League is now behind us. And he's confident that we won't be going back there, at least anytime soon, which, wasn't a foregone conclusion before this past season started. You don't know what's going to happen during the season, and we could very well have ended up getting relegated again. But man, we clearly did not, and turned on the Jets, halfway through the season and then towards the end. So I like that optimism from Parkey. Also, going back and watching this episode, and seeing him in the locker room coaching before the season started and all that, it's just crazy to me that people still think he's not good enough to manage our squad. It's wild that I think he could take us all the way up. I think he could be a Premier League manager. And if he gets the right people and he keeps doing what he's doing, he will be. Because he's been doing a phenomenal job at getting the right players at the right times, which is an extremely hard thing to do, especially when you're trying to plan for 2 or 3 years down the road and 2 or 3 leagues up, but you only have the budget for maybe 1 league up, maybe 2 leagues up. But that's just a hard line to walk. And so he does it very, very well. And then I love the one where the kid said the dad cried when we won the cup. I thought that was fantastic. And he admitted to it, which I thought was great. Then it kind of shows them going to Vegas, kind of shows the whole first bit of this episode was a celebration of our win last year. And it's crazy to think that in one of the biggest clubs in Vegas, with Steve Aoki playing, they paused the music when Wrexham's team walked in and started playing Wrexham highlights with Wrexham music. That's crazy. That is some VIP treatment for sure. And it was clear that Rob and Ryan went above and beyond to celebrate this team and their massive, massive accomplishments. So that was really cool to see. I'm sure that plane ride home was exhausting. It looked like they were all, in a coma. And then we get back into football mode. And the big question at the beginning of the summer was, is Foster coming back? And it turns out, I didn't know this was happening. I'm sure he said it in some interview, but he was getting calls from Rob and Ryan, and not responding right away. Like I can't imagine being basically anyone on earth getting multiple calls and texts from Ryan Reynolds and not replying to it immediately. I don't know who does that, but good on Foster, I guess. I mean, that is that yeah, that's very impressive. I don't know. Maybe once you meet them, you just realize, they're just people, which obviously they are. But there's something about that. It's also your team's owner, which maybe Foster was just thinking, like, I told them I would be doing this at the end of the season and I'm coming back. So maybe he just assumed they'd take him at his word and that was it. And so he, was off on vacation doing other things, playing golf, cycling, doing what he loves. Maybe just wasn't paying attention to his phone, which could very well be the case. I do similar things. I rarely pay attention to my phone anymore, especially when I'm doing certain things. So that could have been it, but I just found it hilarious that they couldn't get a hold of him. And then he finally responded and said, yeah, he's in. So, which, as we know, was very short-lived. We found that out in the second episode, which we'll get to next week. Then comes the American tour. And this was where it kind of was eye-opening how badly we got beat by Chelsea right off the bat. That was a gut blow. Wasn't even close. Like we barely gave them a challenge, and I think Rob mentioned this in the episode that basically it kind of made you realize how much more work we have to do in order to get to the top, because Chelsea wasn't playing their best guys. I believe it was the under eight, or was it? I forget which team it was on Chelsea, but it was definitely not their starting squad. So that was interesting. Then we cut to LA Galaxy 2, which why would we play 2? Why would we not just play the LA Galaxy? That drives me nuts. But we smoked them, which is not surprising to me whatsoever. American football has made massive strides, but we're not quite EFL worthy at this point, in my opinion. So that wasn't surprising at all. And then the big thing, the thing we focused on for most of the episode was utterly painful to revisit. And like you could feel Mullin get his lung punctured and his ribs cracked. They showed that replay. It had to be like 10 times during during the episode. I do feel like this is I have 2 complaints with this, maybe 3 complaints with this episode. They're small. They're not like anything crucial, but the idea that they just felt like to me they beat a dead horse, showing the injury over and over and over, and they spent like 10 minutes of the episode showing the injury and talking about Paul Mullin's like pain. It seemed to take forever for us to move on from that, which, parts of it were cool. Like it was fun seeing that he got offered by Rob to stay at his house while he couldn't fly because his lung might burst. And that he turned it down to stay at a hotel room with 2 of his Liverpool buddies. That was very interesting. Again, these people not taking Rob and Ryan up on their offers is really, really funny. Yeah, I think I would absolutely go stay at Rob's house if I was in Paul Mullin's shoes, but maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he just wanted some privacy and to be alone and hang out with old buddies. That could be. And he said that he really did think that Rob might get tired of a bunch of Scousers hanging out in his house for a few weeks, which could be. I don't know, but I just thought that was really, really funny. Yeah, let's see. I kind of skipped ahead a little bit. They talked about the black kits, which, man, when you saw those those black kits for the first time, they were sick. That's the only kit that I got last year was the black one. And man, that thing is awesome. I love wearing it. It's so comfortable. It looks so good. That debut of those black kits was so cool to see. And then the Man U game where Mullin got injured, Rob and Ryan were trying to compare who Man United is to an American team, and they compared him to the Yankees. And I have a huge problem with that. One, no one outside of New York actually likes the Yankees. And if you there just are far fewer people outside of New York that like the Yankees than, let's say, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have a worldwide audience in the same way that Man U does. So Man U is, I think, the most valuable sports franchise in the world, I believe. And I think Dallas Cowboys are number 2. And Rob, I know, as a Philly fan, just doesn't want to say the words Dallas Cowboys. So that's what I'm guessing happened here, is he just couldn't bring himself to say that Manchester United was the Dallas Cowboys of football. And I get it. If our roles were flipped and the Eagles had a massive worldwide audience, I would never say that the Philadelphia Eagles are the Manchester United of the NFL, because saying that sentence would make me vomit in my mouth. So So I totally get it, but it's 100% correct to say that Manchester United is the Dallas Cowboys of the EFL and the soccer football world. Because the Cowboys have an insane number of fans. And in fact, let's look up who the most valuable. In fact, I'll just share this screen with y'all. Share this tab instead. Let's put it up here. Okay. Most valuable sports franchises. Let's see what we got here. World's 50 most valuable sports teams. Come on, just give me the daggum list. I don't need all this. Okay, number 1 is the Dallas Cowboys. There you go. Okay, so, oh my gosh, this has got to be only American teams. Yeah, that's got to be only American teams. So that was useless. Most valuable, let's see, in the world. There we go. Let's go to that one. It's a Reddit post. No, that's going to take forever to find the actual thing. Why is this so difficult? Does this say in the world? No, there we go. There we go. So this was February 23rd, 2024. This came out. Oh my gosh. Do I have to go down? Okay, let's go down to the bottom here. Oh, number 1 is the Dallas Cowboys. $9.2 billion franchise. What the heck? It says in the world. There's no way that Manchester United is not in the top 10. Do they include football at all? Oh my gosh. Okay. They do. Wow. So many franchises in the NFL have expanded unbelievably in the last few years. Because it used to be Man United was number 1. Man United used to be the most valuable franchise in the world, but the Dallas Cowboys are now worth $9.2 billion. And the Golden State Warriors are second. That used to not be a thing for sure. 8.28 billion. Wow. Okay. So yeah, Manchester United is down at number 13 now. They used to be number 1. They're now down at 13, $5.95 billion. Which is worth less than the Washington Commanders. That's embarrassing, man. You got to bring it up, man. That's horrible. It's worth less than the New York Jets, a team that never wins ever. They're worth less than them. That is sad at this point. Oh my gosh. All these others make sense. The Knicks can win, plus they're in New York. Lakers, obviously. Yankees, fine. New York Giants, they've won some Super Bowls in the past couple decades. Los Angeles Rams, they won a Super Bowl a few years ago. Patriots, obviously. Niners, definitely. Jets, absolutely not. Commanders, no. Bears, no. That is, oh my gosh, yeah, that's embarrassing, man. Y'all gotta get your prestige back up. Real Madrid's coming up now, though. Let's see what are their football teams? Barcelona. Then Liverpool's number 29. Who else we got? Bayern Munich. Man City is number 35. Basically, the entire NFL is on here before a whole bunch of teams. Man. Arsenal, Chelsea. Chelsea's worth $3.47 billion. Some of my best friends growing up were massive Chelsea fans. So I used to follow them quite a bit. Tottenham. All right. What are the bottom of the top 100? Philadelphia Flyers in the NHL. We've got Juventus. Yeah. Los Angeles Kings in the NHL. Okay. So that's very interesting. I would still compare them to Dallas Cowboys far more than the New York Yankees. Although I guess the Yankees does make sense considering how much they've grown their brand and their value over the past decade or so. What else? Let's see. Oh, they mentioned that it was the first League Two team to do a coast-to-coast tour of America, which I have no doubt about that, because why on earth would a League Two team ever tour America on a coast-to-coast like series of games? That would have made no sense prior to this. People wouldn't have been excited about it. No one would have cared. No one would have come to the games. It wouldn't have mattered. It would have been very empty stadiums. But the mere fact that Rob and Ryan have raised the profile of Wrexham AFC and created an entire country of fans, 2 countries of fans, and then, a lot more than the US and Canada. But over here, so many people are Wrexham fans now. It's wild. It's crazy to see, which was very evident when we did the American tour last year, as I showed in the documentary, how many Wrexham fans were in those stadiums. I mean, it was more than half. And people would travel hours and hours and hours, which over here isn't an abnormal thing. I think that's very abnormal in England. Like I hear y'all complain about having to drive 2 hours to a match. That's nothing. Me and my wife have driven. We left at 11 p.m. or close to midnight one night to get to a game that started at 6 p.m. the following evening. And we basically drove straight through for 18 hours. One person slept while the other person drove and made it to the game in the first quarter. It was one of the best road trips ever. It was to see my favorite ever NBA player's last game, Dirk Nowitzki. We called it Dirk's Final Drive. It was awesome. And always remember that. But 18 hours. I've driven further than that for less important games. so driving 20 hours to go see a Wrexham game when you think you might not be able to get to see them ever again, or at least not very often, because you're not going to fly over to, if you can't afford to fly over to Wales, then, you want to see them when they're in the country, because driving 20 hours is much cheaper than flying over to Wales and all of that. So a 20-hour drive to see a game is nothing. I would do that in a heartbeat. But last year I was indisposed, couldn't go, sadly. And this year can't go, sadly. I'm building my house in Montana. So it's just, it is what it is. Here's one of my problems with the episode. Very tiny. It's just a little editing detail. When Elliot Lee and Anthony Ford were in the pub or cafe talking about Mullin's injury, they edited it. Man, that is the most annoying thing to say. They edited it, and Anthony Ford said something, and his lips were turning blue, and it was really bad. And then they cut over to Elliot Lee, who said almost the exact same thing, but he was saying it like it was the first time being said on screen. So I think they completely, I don't know. In that scene, I think they messed up. I think they should have only included one of those, because they both said the exact same thing. They both ended with it was lips turned blue. It was terrifying, but they both said it in a way that it sounded like it was the first time being said on camera. And like I said, tiny little nitpick, because I thought this episode was fantastic. That was just a tiny little small problem I had with it. So not that big a deal. There's no deal breakers in this episode. I thought it was very impressive that Mullin refused to get on the stretcher and chose to walk off, purely just to comfort his wife and his family back home. What a beast. That is a tough move. You have a punctured lung, 4 broken ribs, and you're going to be your entire side is going to be bruised. And you choose to do it just for optics for your family. That is impressive. Guy's got some grit. Loved that about him. And now he's stuck in the US for 2 weeks. He got to do some great talk shows. He went on, was it Rich Eisen? Who was that? Who has his own show? Doesn't matter. He did some talk shows. He watched some Wrexham games. And he declined staying with Rob. Then we kind of get into the season. So we're preparing for MK Dons. All the fans are excited for the new season. Can't wait to be in League Two. We're finally, and this is what I want to talk about for a few minutes. This is back where we rightly belong, was the quote somebody said, which I understand the motivation behind saying that. I understand the feelings behind that. I unless, so in my opinion, unless the authorities in any whatever situation you're in, whether it's the government, the football league, the refs, whatever it is, unless they have it out for you and are changing rules or making things happen that negatively affect just your squad, you don't rightly belong anywhere unless you earn it. And I don't want this is not a dig at the guy who said this on the documentary, but I want people to remember to not take us being in the league for granted. It is not a given that we are going to stay in the football league. So don't act like this is where we are supposed to be, just because of our history or because that's just how you feel. You got to earn it, man. You got to get out there and you got to work your butt off in training. You have to earn it. You have to earn your spot. You have to be great. You can't just belong somewhere in a competitive league. So I want us to keep in mind that concept that we should not take this for granted. We must enjoy every second of it and keep our fandom going. Keep the enthusiasm up. Keep going to games. Keep screaming. Keep yelling. Keep supporting the squad, and not lose sight of the fact that for 15 years, a lot of y'all were miserable. And now that we're back in the league, you're less miserable. Some of you are still miserable, but a lot of you are very, very happy, as am I. And so just try to focus on that we're in the football league. Things are looking up. It's going to be a long grind to get to the top, but we can do it. And it's going to be a fun journey. Just enjoy it. And Robin Ryan said something very similar. Ryan grabbed him right before the game started against MK Dons and basically said, we need to take a minute at the beginning of every season and remember we're doing this and this is an amazing thing that is happening, and to mark the moment, which I thought was a great moment in the opening episode. And then MK Dons happened. We all know what happens. I'm not going to review the game because I don't want to relive it yet again. I've watched the episode twice now, so I don't want to talk about how terrible that game was. But it was it was a wake-up call that we are not in the National League anymore. We have multiple new signings. We've got McLean now. We've got Evans. Who else did we sign? I'm blanking. But basically we have half a new team, and we still couldn't come through. I mean, we did lose Paul Mullin, but we said we couldn't beat MK Dons. But to be fair, MK Dons came down from League One, so they got relegated, and then had to go, had to play in League Two. And so I'm pretty sure, didn't they just get knocked out of the playoffs? I'm blanking on who got promoted. Where's the dadgum FOTMob logo? There it is. Crawley. Yeah. MK Dons got beat 8-1 overall by Crawley. And then Crawley beat Crew to get through to League One. So good on Crawley. Amazing. But what was I saying? Just lost my place. Oh yeah, it was just a harsh introduction back into the league, which was fine. People get far too upset over one loss. One loss doesn't define a season. One loss doesn't change the trajectory of anything. 2 or 3 losses, 4 losses in a row might, but it depends on you. You can always bounce back. Humphrey Kerr said it in the first season, I believe. He says you can't win the league in the first few games of the season, but you can lose it. you can become, it might become not possible to win anymore. And you just might not be able to get promoted if you lose too many games at the beginning of the season. So I understand the thought on the emotion that comes with losing that first game after all the hype and the emotion and the excitement to get back into the league finally, and then get smoked by MK Dons. I understand that will just make your trajectory go straight down. You'll lose all momentum. It'll just be a huge blow to the gut. I get that, but the key is not to overreact. Definitely don't take it out on the players or the manager. They all know. As you can see in every single locker room scene, you can see how livid they are when they're losing. They don't look deflated. They don't look like they're giving up. They look furious. And we'll get to episode 2 next week where Elliot Lee goes off. But I think the key is to, when the team is struggling, show them more support, because there's always going to be times when the team struggles. So showing them more support is the way to go, because you don't want them to get down, because the worse their mentality is, the worse they're going to play. And so if they don't think the fans are behind them, well, that does have a negative effect on morale. So that's what it is. And so, yeah, I loved watching the MK Dons game, not because of the outcome, but I watched the game live, and you get certain camera angles from a broadcast, which are fine. They work for the viewer, but it's so much fun seeing all these different angles that the documentary crew was able to get, and all the close-ups and slow motions, and the camera crew is really amazing. I interviewed the cinematographer last year for Welcome to Wrexham, and yeah, him and his crew just do a killer job at filming these sporting events with cameras that are not broadcast cameras. They are like film quality, film level, high speed cameras. And so that's not an easy feat. It's not an easy task. It's hard to stay on focus. It's hard to keep them in the frame. It's hard to not be too wobbly. There's just so many things that can go wrong, that when you see those perfect shots of them getting that perfect Paul Mullin move, or Elliot Lee step over, or, whatever it is, try to appreciate that, because that is a hard shot to get. And yeah, that's something that every cameraman and cinematographer loves to try to do, but it doesn't always work out. So just try to take note of that kind of stuff. But that'll do it for this week, y'all. I thought the episode was great. This is how I wanted last season to start. And it kind of did, but then it went off course really quickly. And I thought this episode was great. I thought it was a good transition from season 2 to season 1. I thought we saw a lot of football. We talked about a lot of football. I want that to happen more often. I also want podcasts besides Rob Ryan Red and Fearless in Devotion to be featured in these and Men in Blazers to be featured in this series. I want to see Me, the Wife, and Wrexham on there. I want to see Two Beards podcast. I just want to see other folks. Like, there's nothing against Rob Ryan Red. Them and Fearless in Devotion have incredible knowledge and history of Wrexham and of football in general. So like, what you're getting there. But I would like to see a few new characters, which they do bring in a new character in episode 2. So that made me very happy. But I would like to see some new characters that are tied to the team in different ways. So because there's a bunch of the same folks as last season, which is fine. I like most of the people that appear on screen, but I would like to see some new folks, new stories, and have other people commenting on the games and everything. So I think that'll do it. Overall, I'd say B+ episode. I don't think I've rated these episodes before, so maybe I'll start doing that. B+ episode. It was very good, solid, but didn't make me go, holy crap. And like, to get into that A level, you got to do some very special things for me. I'm a very picky watcher of TV and movies. I critique them to death, especially if they're not good. As soon as they start showing signs of weaknesses, I start to pick out more and more and more and more and more. And so it's hard to watch bad TV for me, and it's hard to watch bad TV with me. So, yeah, there are going to be times when I go down a rabbit hole of how I think certain things or certain episodes are crap, and that's just going to be how it is. So that'll be it for this week, y'all. Make sure to drop a like on the video, share it around. Come back next week. I'm thinking about changing the day I go live for this podcast, because the weekends, I really just want to take Sundays off. And during the season, it makes sense to have it on Sundays just because it's a initial reaction after the game, the day after the games. But I'm thinking about changing it to Wednesday nights. It'd be 11 o'clock over in Wales, and what is it, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock over here, 6 o'clock Eastern. So thinking about doing that. If you have a problem with that, let me know in the comments or send me a message, because that's kind of what I want to do, because I'm working during the week anyway. So let's just make this part of work, which makes sense to me. So might be doing that in the very near future. Next week will not be live, but it will be an episode that comes out. There will be an episode that comes out next Sunday at noon Eastern, 5 o'clock in Wales, 5 o'clock GMT. So look forward to that. It'll be an episode review of season 3, episode 2 of Welcome to Wrexham. That's it for this week, y'all. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Up the town.
Search my soul with all your heart. You're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. And if you knock my soul with all your strength, you're gonna find it. You're gonna find it.